I don't know what time it was, but the sky outside was the kind of purple that tells you something is wrong. The hallway smelled like burned toast and bleach. My shoes were soaked from the rain, but I hadn't noticed until I stepped into the house and left prints across the hardwood. There was no sound. Not a TV humming, not even her usual terrible humming from the kitchen. Just silence. Thick, stretched silence. The kind that creeps under your shirt and licks your spine. Something was off, and not in a small way. It wasn't suspicion, not yet. It was just the strange way the door had been left unlocked. She never leaves the door unlocked. She's obsessive about it. Checks it twice every night like a ritual. But that evening, I turned the knob and it gave way like it was waiting for me. The couch was too clean. The cushions weren't dented. The throw blanket was folded like someone was trying to impress an invisible guest. And then I noticed something that should have meant nothing. The coaster on the table had a wet ring on it, but there was no glass. I reached out and touched it. Still cold. Someone had been there. Recently. I called her name, but not loud. I wasn't sure why I didn't shout. Maybe some part of me already knew. Maybe some rotten little instinct had already unwrapped the truth and was just waiting for my brain to catch up. I walked down the hall. I didn't even take off my jacket. The rain had soaked through to my shirt and I could feel it clinging to my back. Like fingers. Then I heard it. A voice. Male. Not low and commanding, but smug. The kind of voice that says stupid things on purpose because he thinks he's clever. Her laugh followed. Sharp, bright, unfamiliar. Like a laugh she only used when I wasn't around. Like a laugh I wasn't supposed to hear. They weren't in the bedroom. They were in the guest room. The one she said was too dusty to use, and always kept the door closed. I walked toward it slowly. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to confirm what every inch of my body had already started screaming. The door was cracked. Just a sliver. Enough for me to see her silhouette. She was standing by the window, holding something. His phone? Hers? I don't know. He was behind her, not touching her, but close. Too close. The way his head tilted down toward her neck. The way her hand touched his arm like it had done it 100 times before. I didn't move. I just watched. She said something then. A joke. I don't even remember what it was. But I remember how he laughed and reached toward her and touched her lower back like he owned it. And that's when she saw me. She didn't gasp. She didn't even flinch. She just looked at me like she was mildly surprised. Like I'd come home early from work and caught her watching a show she wasn't supposed to. No guilt. No panic. Just irritation. "Oh," she said, as if I'd walked in on her brushing her teeth. "You're back." The man behind her turned, clearly less prepared for this moment. He looked at me like I was a wild dog that had wandered into a dinner party. But she just smiled. Not warmly, not apologetically. A cold, sideways smirk that said she had already rehearsed this moment in her head. And now she was just reading her lines. I didn't speak. I didn't trust myself to. My hands were clenched so tightly they trembled. She walked toward me casually, brushing past the other man like he was furniture. She stepped into the hallway and closed the door behind her. Not even turning to him, not even checking if he was still there. She stopped just a few feet in front of me. "Don't make this dramatic," she said, as if I was the one making a scene. "It's not what you think." I opened my mouth, but there was no voice. My throat was dry like I'd swallowed sawdust. I stared at her, trying to find something human in her face, something that would crack and give way to remorse. But there was nothing, just that smirk, that unbearable calm. "He's a friend," she added, with an eye roll like she was tired of explaining things to a child. "You're being paranoid again. Maybe if you paid attention once in a while." I grabbed the door handle and opened it wide. The guy was gone. Fast. I didn't even hear the window open. But it was. Curtains flapping like wings, screen popped out. She didn't seem surprised. She turned to me, eyes narrow. "Great. You scared him off." Still, I said nothing. "Not yet." She crossed her arms. "So what now? You gonna cry? Throw things?" I looked at her. Really looked. And that's when I saw it. The woman I married wasn't in front of me. This was someone else. A shell. A stranger who knew exactly how far to push and how little I'd been willing to push back. That changed in that moment. I took a step toward her, and she stepped back. Just 1 inch, but enough for me to see something flicker in her eyes. Not fear. just uncertainty. And I smiled. I had no idea what I was going to do next. But I knew it wasn't going to be nothing. She didn't say anything after that. Just stood there like I was an inconvenience in her hallway, dripping rainwater onto the floor. I walked past her, calm on the outside, but every step felt like I was balancing on broken glass. I opened the guest room closet, empty. No signs he'd been here before. No jacket, no bag. He knew how to vanish. That told me more than anything else. This wasn't new. She followed me in, arms still crossed, eyes dry and sharp. "You're being weird," she said. "Do you want to talk? Or just stomp around like some drama queen?" I turned slowly. "How long?" She blinked. "How long what?" "You already know what I'm asking." She paused. And then, in the most infuriatingly casual tone, she said, "A while." That was it. A while. No tears, no apologies, no regret in her voice. Just a bored confession. Like she was tired of keeping the secret and now couldn't care less that I knew. I didn't ask any more questions. I didn't need names. I didn't need a timeline. The way she stood there, practically daring me to yell, told me she had expected this moment and had already decided how she would play it. "You should have knocked," she added, almost joking. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because something inside me cracked, and laughter was the only sound that could crawl out. She tilted her head. "Are you okay?" I looked up at her, and for the first time in a long time I truly saw her. Not the girl I fell in love with. Not my wife. Just a person. A person who had made her choice long ago and had simply forgotten to inform me. I felt nothing. Not pain, not rage. Just space. "You're not sorry," I said, almost admiring the audacity. She shrugged. "I was. First. Then I wasn't." I nodded, slow. "Do they all know you're married?" Her face changed. Not panic, but the flash of someone being slightly unprepared. Then she laughed. "Oh, don't act like I'm the first wife who got bored." The room shrank. My hearing warped. She was still speaking. Something snide about how I'd gotten comfortable or stopped being interesting. But her words blurred together. I was no longer in that house. I was somewhere above it, detached, watching her speak with the same voice she used when returning a dress to the store. No weight, no stakes, no shame. She tried to leave the room then, but I moved faster. Not violently, just enough to block the doorframe. "You said, they." I said quietly. "You didn't say he. You said, they." She froze for a heartbeat, then narrowed her eyes. "So? How many?" She rolled her eyes, annoyed now. "Oh my God. Does it matter?" That was the answer. She stepped around me and started walking down the hallway. I followed. Not because I wanted to continue the conversation, because I didn't trust her to be unsupervised anymore. Not even in her own house. She picked up her phone from the kitchen counter, unlocked it with her face. Her thumb danced across the screen like she was checking a grocery list. "I can't believe you're making such a big deal out of this," she muttered. "Are you texting him?" She glanced up. "No, I'm texting another one." That's when I realized something worse than betrayal. She was enjoying this. The tension, the control, the chaos. She wasn't panicked or ashamed. She was having fun. She'd turned my heartbreak into a theater production, and now she had front row seats. I stood still in the middle of that too-clean kitchen, watching her type some smug message to one of them. Her lovers. Her playthings. She didn't even try to hide it. Then she looked up, eyes gleaming like polished steel, and said with a half-smile, "They laughed as her lovers beat me, just to entertain her." I lay broken on the floor, alone. Hours later, I heard her scream. When I stood up, something in me had changed, and I acted cruelly. She paused. "That's a line from something, isn't it?" I stared at her. "No, that's your future." The smile faded. She opened her mouth to speak, but I was already walking away. Not to leave, not yet. There were things I needed to know. Truths I needed to dig out even if they bled. Because this wasn't the end. It was only the opening scene. I didn't sleep that night. Not because I couldn't, but because sleep felt dishonest. Like my body didn't deserve rest while my mind was still trying to fit broken pieces into a picture that no longer made sense. I sat in the garage with the lights off, the engine of my car ticking softly as it cooled, listening to the echo of her words in my head. "I'm texting another one." Not a friend. Not a mistake, not it meant nothing, just another one. She went upstairs like nothing had happened. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. No late-night door creaks. No whispered apologies. Just the faint sound of music coming from the bedroom while I sat surrounded by tools I'd used to build our home. Realizing she had used that same home to unravel me, I started thinking. Not in wild loops of jealousy or revenge that came later, but in cold, mechanical questions. How long had she been doing this? When did I become optional? Who were they? How deep had the roots of this thing grown while I was out planting dreams for us? I turned on my phone. There were no new messages from her, of course, but one from an unknown number. No name, just a photo. A blurry shot, poorly lit, taken indoors, her sitting on some stranger's lap, looking right into the camera, laughing. His hand was under her shirt. She didn't seem to care. The timestamp was from last week. A Tuesday. I had been at my mother's chemo appointment that day. She had told me she was too tired to come. My fingers didn't shake. They just moved, opening the photo, enlarging it, studying the background. The room wasn't ours. Beige carpet. A hanging lamp shaped like a birdcage. I'd never seen it before, but something about it felt familiar. I stared at the lamp, the shadow of it against the wall, and then it hit me, her friend Nora's apartment. She dragged me there once for wine and board games. That same stupid lamp had buzzed above my head the whole night. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I left the house before she woke up. I didn't slam the door. I didn't even close it all the way. Let her wonder whether I'd gone for coffee or left her for good. Let that doubt simmer while she checked her phone every 10 minutes. I drove across town without eating, parked half a block from Nora's building, and waited. At 10:16 a.m., a man came out. Tall, mid-30s, expensive sneakers, laughing on the phone. He didn't see me, didn't even glance. But he had her keys in his hand. Our keys. The custom leather keychain I'd given her on our 3rd anniversary. The one with our initials engraved on the back. So that was one of them. One face. One name I didn't know yet. I took a photo of him and drove away. Back home. She was in the kitchen, pretending. She was making eggs like it was a Tuesday in a sane marriage. She looked up when I walked in, no guilt in her face. Just annoyance that I hadn't played along. "You didn't say where you were going," she said. "I wasn't sure," I replied. She scoffed. "So you just disappeared? Nice." "I saw Nora," I lied. That got her attention. Her hand hesitated over the frying pan. "Why?" "I wanted to ask her something," I said, watching her face like a detective reading a suspect. "About Tuesday night." Her voice didn't waver. "I told you we had wine. Is that what we're calling it now?" I said. Her lip twitched. "You know what? I'm not doing this with you today. You want to dig through every second of my life like some bitter loser. Fine. But don't expect me to apologize every time you decide to have a tantrum." I walked toward her slowly, stopped right in front of her. She smelled like perfume. Not the one she used to wear. A newer scent. Spicier. Sharper. It didn't belong to her. It belonged to the woman she'd become. "Was he worth it?" I asked. She looked up at me, smirk returning. "Which one?" There it was. Not even the courtesy of denial. She flipped the eggs, not waiting for my answer. "You were never supposed to find out. That was the only rule." That sentence changed something in me. She hadn't made a mistake. She'd created a system, a routine, a life within a life. And the only thing that offended her was that I'd broken her rhythm. And that's when I understood. She hadn't betrayed me out of weakness. She'd done it because she believed she was untouchable. That belief was about to be rewritten. I didn't say another word to her that morning. Not when she slammed the cabinet to prove a point I no longer cared about. Not when she mumbled under her breath about how she was tired of my sulking. I let her talk, let her act, let her wear the mask. Because now I had a plan. She left at noon, claimed she had errands. No bags, no list. Just a long coat and her phone clutched like a lifeline. I didn't follow. Not physically. I didn't need to. I already had the photo of the man from Nora's, and I had one more thing. Her old iPad, still logged into her iCloud account. She'd forgotten about it. Or maybe she thought I wasn't smart enough to check. Either way, it was sitting in the top drawer of her nightstand, hidden under a pile of expired cosmetics. I pulled it out, wiped the dust from the screen, and opened the synced messages. My hands didn't tremble. I scrolled. Dozens of conversations. Most of them labeled with initials or emojis. Some just first names. But the messages, God, the messages. She didn't just cheat. She monologued about it. Sent photos. Scheduled pickups. Laughed about me. My habits, my clothes, my boring routines. One thread in particular stabbed the deepest. A group chat. There were 4 of them in it. For men. And her. The messages weren't just sexual, they were celebratory. As if breaking me had become a game they all played together. I read a line that felt like acid in my stomach. He still thinks I'm going to my sister's this weekend. Should I take a video this time? Another man replied, please do. I love watching him fall apart and not even know it. And her response. He'd probably thank me if he saw it. He's that clueless. I closed the iPad. No rage, just a hollow silence. Like standing in the middle of a burned-down house, sifting through ashes. This wasn't cheating. This was cruelty for sport. I sat for a long time. I don't know how long. The walls looked different now. Colder. Every photo of us felt staged. Every memory rewritten. I tried to remember the last time she looked at me with something other than thinly veiled contempt. Couldn't. She came home at 4. No groceries. No bags. Just a smug look. Like she'd completed another errand she'd never explain. I didn't ask. I just smiled. Feel better, I said. Much, she replied. That night I made dinner. For the first time in weeks. Her favorite rigatoni with truffle oil. She raised an eyebrow when she walked into the kitchen and saw the table set. What's this? She asked. A normal night, I said. Let's just have one. She didn't argue. She sat. Ate. Drank. I watched her fork scrape the plate and wondered how many lies she could chew through before choking. She smiled through it all. Smiled like I hadn't seen the messages. Like I didn't know who she really was now. But the best liars are the ones who think they're smarter than their audience. After dinner, she went to shower. I cleared the dishes. Then I went upstairs and stood outside the bathroom door. The sound of water. Her off-key humming. She was comfortable. Safe. It made me sick. I opened the door slowly. She didn't hear me. I walked in. Sat on the edge of the tub without saying a word. She turned mid-hum. Soap in her hair. And her expression snapped from casual to annoyed. Do you mind? I looked at her. Really looked and said quietly. They laughed as her lovers beat me, just to entertain her. I lay broken on the floor, alone. Hours later, I heard her scream. When I stood up, something in me had changed, and I acted cruelly. She froze. The water kept running behind her, but she didn't move. What? She asked, quieter now. I know everything, I said. Every message, every face, every lie. And you. I stood up, took one step back toward the door. You don't get to pretend anymore. Then I walked out and closed the door. Let her finish that shower in silence. Let her sit with it. The next part was coming. She just didn't know the rules had changed. She didn't come out of the bathroom for 20 minutes after I left. I sat downstairs in the dark. Lights off, no TV, no music. Just me. The creak of old wood settling. And the pressure in my chest folding itself into something colder, sharper. Not grief anymore. Strategy. When she finally did come down, she was dressed but didn't meet my eyes. She stood at the foot of the stairs, drying her hair with that gray towel I bought last Christmas. For a moment, she looked like the woman I used to love. Soft, casual, barefoot. But now I knew better. It was a costume, and I'd seen the actress underneath. She broke the silence first. That little speech in the bathroom, she said, not even trying to mask the venom. Was that supposed to scare me? No, I said calmly. It was just to let you know I'm not playing the fool anymore. She exhaled through her nose like I was boring her. You can go through my phone if it makes you feel better, she offered. As if the confession of 4 men wasn't already burned into my memory. We can do the whole, let's work through it thing if that's what you want. I laughed. A real one this time. It made her flinch a little. You still think you're in control, I said. That's adorable. She tilted her head. You've been sulking for weeks. I'm not scared of you suddenly finding a backbone. You should be, I said. You really should. She rolled her eyes and turned to walk away. But before she could leave the room, I said, you might want to let your friends know I've got their names now, and faces, and I know where two of them work. One of them's married. With a daughter. That stopped her. She turned slowly. Her eyes were wider now, mouth twitching with something she couldn't quite hide. Panic. You wouldn't, she said. You sure about that? She stepped toward me. You want to ruin lives now? That's who you are. I stood. You already did. I'm just distributing the cost. She didn't respond. Her hands tightened around the towel. You want me gone, fine, I said. But I'm not leaving empty-handed. And I'm not walking away while you get to parade your rot like it never touched me. That was when she snapped. Her voice rose, shrill, shaking. You don't get to threaten me. You were a ghost in this house long before anyone else touched me. You think this just happened? You made me lonely. You made me cold. No, I said, calm again. You made you cold. I just wasn't watching while it happened. Her eyes were glassy now, but no tears fell. She wasn't sad, just furious that the puppet finally dropped the strings. You want to ruin everything? She asked. I want to expose it, I said. All of it. She stood there, trembling, towel slipping from her hands onto the floor, and I left her like that. I walked upstairs, locked the door to the office, and opened my laptop. In the past 24 hours, I'd copied every message, every photo, every video to a flash drive. Backups of backups. I sent an anonymous message to one of the men's wives. Just one. A test. With a screenshot and the words, "You deserve the truth." I didn't sign it. Didn't leave a trail. Downstairs, I heard the front door open. She was leaving. Good. She should be afraid of silence now. This wasn't vengeance. It was the sound of power returning. She didn't come home that night. The door stayed open longer than usual when she left, like she wanted me to hear it slam without slamming it. I watched from the upstairs window as her car pulled out of the driveway. No hesitation, no pause, not even a glance back. Just taillights disappearing into the night. For the first time in weeks, the house didn't feel like a coffin. Felt like mine. I slept on the couch, not because I had to, but because I didn't want to smell her perfume on the pillows upstairs. I left the windows cracked, even though the night air bit at my skin. I needed the cold. I needed clarity. Around 2:41 a.m., my phone lit up. Not a call. Not a message. A notification from the iCloud tracking app I'd completely forgotten was still active on the iPad. Her location had pinged. An apartment complex 2 neighborhoods over. Not Nora's. This was someone else. I looked up the address. A man named Tyler lived there. His name was one of the many in her group chats. He was the one who bragged the most. The one who sent the picture. I stared at the screen for 5 full minutes, phone resting against my chest like a heartbeat I was trying to ignore. I didn't go there. I didn't need to. I already knew what she was doing. In the morning, she came back. Hair messy. Hoodie not hers. That same smug exhaustion on her face like she'd been out celebrating while I counted cracks in the ceiling. She didn't say anything when she walked through the door. Just tossed her bag on the floor and headed for the fridge. I stayed in the living room. Let her wander around the house like a ghost. She wasn't trying to hide it anymore. She wanted me to know. Wanted me to react. But I didn't give her what she wanted. Not yet. Did you have fun? I asked without looking up. She paused at the fridge, took out a bottle of water, unscrewed the cap with slow, deliberate fingers. Is this how it's gonna be now? You sulking every time I breathe? I turned my head, met her eyes. No. This is the calm before the drop. She gave a bitter laugh. You think you scare me now? No, I said. I don't think. I know. She walked past me toward the stairs, taking a long sip from the bottle. Then do it. Whatever it is. Expose me. Wreck my life. Make it big and dramatic if it'll finally give you some personality. I already did, I said. She stopped, didn't turn around, but I saw her shoulder twitch slightly. I told one of them, I said. His wife. The one with the daughter. She turned slowly, bottle in hand. Eyes locked on mine now. You're bluffing. I didn't blink. I gave her evidence. Time-stamped messages. Photos. She's probably packing his things right now. The bottle dropped from her hand and hit the floor, rolling into the wall. She opened her mouth, but no words came out. She wasn't just scared. She was disoriented. She had played this game assuming I'd always be the quiet loser in the corner, too frozen to do anything but ache. Now the game had changed, and I was holding the board. "What did you do?" she asked finally, voice quieter now, smaller. I stood and walked toward her slowly. No anger, no theatrics, just purpose. "I'm not going to destroy you all at once," I said. "I want you to feel what it's like to live inside a slow unraveling. To look over your shoulder every morning and wonder, which one knows today?" Her face drained of color. "You think you're the hero in this?" "No," I said. "I'm the one you didn't write a script for." And I walked past her, up the stairs, left her standing in the hallway, surrounded by her own silence for the first time since this began. That was the moment I saw her walls start to crack. Not because she was guilty, but because for the first time, she was losing control of the narrative. She didn't leave the house the next day. Not even to check the mail. Not even to run errands. She spent the morning pacing the kitchen, tapping her phone like it owed her answers. She didn't speak to me, didn't look at me, but I saw the way her eyes flicked to mine when she thought I wasn't watching, quick, calculating, desperate. Around noon, her phone rang. She snatched it off the counter like it was oxygen. Walked into the guest room, closed the door, didn't lock it. I gave her 10 minutes. Then I opened the door without knocking. She was on the edge of the bed, hunched over, both hands gripping her phone. Her voice was low, but I caught the tail end of it. "I don't know how he found out, I swear." She froze when she saw me, didn't end the call, just turned her face like a cornered animal. I didn't speak, just walked over, held out my hand. She stared at it. "No, now," I said. She swallowed hard. "Don't, please." I stepped closer, hands still outstretched. Her jaw tensed. Then, slowly, she placed the phone in my palm. The man on the other end didn't realize she was gone yet. He kept talking, fast and anxious. "She said no one knew. This is a mess. My wife. She's asking questions and I can't. Hello?" I didn't say anything. I ended the call. She stared at me like I just disarmed a bomb with my bare hands. "He's falling apart," I said, setting the phone on the dresser. "One down." "You can't do this," she whispered. "You don't know what you're starting." I turned toward her, and for the first time I didn't see the woman I married. I saw the architect of a game she never imagined she'd lose. "Are you protecting them now?" I asked. "Or yourself?" She stood suddenly. "You don't get to rewrite this. You didn't care. You were boring. You were predictable. I needed something else. I was loyal," I said, "and you mistook that for weakness." Her face twisted into something ugly. "You think you're better than them? You think you're some noble avenger now?" "No," I said. "I think I'm the reckoning none of you planned for." She moved toward the phone fast, but I was faster. I picked it up and walked out, leaving her standing in the middle of the guest room, breathing hard, arms wrapped around herself like she was finally starting to feel cold. Downstairs, I sent another message. Another wife. Another truth. This one included audio. A 30-second recording I'd pulled from the synced voice memos. Her voice, laughing, calling me pathetic, talking about how I'd cry if I ever found out. I didn't sign that one either. An hour later, the doorbell rang. She ran to it before I could. Opened it, and there he was. Man number 2. His face was wrecked. Red. Sweaty. Eyes wild. He didn't even look at her. Just pushed past her into the house. "Is it true?" he asked, spinning to face her. "You said it was just me." She tried to shush him, but it was too late. I was already standing at the edge of the hallway. "Hi," I said. He looked at me, really looked, and for the first time he understood what kind of storm he'd stepped into. She tried to grab his arm. "Let's talk upstairs." "Don't touch me," he snapped, pulling away. "I have everything," I said to him calmly. "Messages, calls, photos. You're number 2. You were never the only one." He stared at her. "You told me he was abusive." She blinked. "What?" "That's what you said." He turned back to me. "She said you hit her." She went still. "That's not true," I said. He looked at her again. "Is it?" Silence. Her jaw clenched, but she couldn't say it. Couldn't repeat the lie with both of us watching. He walked out. Didn't slam the door. She stood in the entryway, shaking. Not from rage this time, but from realization. Her web was unraveling. Faster now. She turned to me, voice trembling. "Why are you doing this?" "Because for years," I said, stepping closer. "You made me live in a lie so detailed I forgot who I was. And now, I said, you're going to watch the truth devour everything." She didn't try to chase him this time. No explanation. No begging. Just stood there in the half-open doorway like someone had knocked the wind out of her, but she was too proud to admit it. I walked past her and closed the door myself, slow and deliberate, locking it behind me. Then I said, "3 more." She flinched. I wasn't bluffing. I had names, messages, schedules. I knew what time each man liked to text her good morning. I knew who she called after I left for work. I even knew which one had met her at the dog park 3 blocks from here. She doesn't even like dogs. It had all been there in her phone, her iPad, her synced messages. She'd written her downfall like a memoir. She leaned against the wall, one hand covering her mouth. "Please stop," she whispered. "No," I said. "You don't get to ask for peace now. You made your comfort out of lies. I'm just giving those lies back to the people who helped you build them." She stared at me with those glassy, hollow eyes, the ones that used to hold love, or at least the illusion of it. Now they just held fear. A kind of fear that comes when a person realizes they never had the upper hand, just borrowed time. She sank to the floor, knees folding beneath her. "I didn't think you'd change," she said. "You were always just there. Predictable." "That was your mistake," I replied. "You never noticed how much I saw while I was being just there." She looked up, eyes wide. "Do you think this will make you whole again? Wrecking everything?" "No," I said, "but it'll make the truth louder than your lies." That night I sent the 3rd message. Man number 3, the youngest, worked with her at some freelance gig 2 summers ago. He was cocky in the chats, arrogant, called me domesticated. He'd even joked about wearing my slippers while I was away at work. So I sent him a single sentence and a screenshot. "You were just one of many. She never even remembered your last name." No reply, just a status change. Blocked. But I knew he'd seen it. And I knew the quiet that followed wasn't peace. It was panic. She didn't eat dinner. Didn't come into the kitchen. She just stayed upstairs in the bedroom, door closed, footsteps soft and nervous. I stayed downstairs, reading through her messages again. Not because I needed to. I already knew them by heart. I just wanted to feel that shift. Watch how love curdled into calculation. Every "miss you," she texted. Every wink. Every emoji-laced deception. All while I was making her tea or picking up her dry cleaning. The quiet between us stretched so thin that by midnight, it felt like the walls were breathing. I was brushing my teeth when I heard her knock. Just once. Soft. I didn't answer. The door creaked open, and she stood there in the dark, wearing an old sweatshirt of mine like it meant something again. "I'm sorry," she said. I kept brushing. She took another step in. "You were good to me. You were. I got lost. I didn't know how to be bored." I spit, rinsed, wiped my mouth. Then I said, "You weren't bored. You were cruel." She swallowed. "I deserve this, I know. I didn't think you'd be like this. You never thought I'd stop forgiving you." Her lip trembled. For a second I thought she might cry. But then she said something that changed everything again. "They weren't first." I froze. She looked at me with a kind of shame that didn't know where to sit. "There were others. Before the ones you found. Before the group chat. I started lying long before I started cheating. You just never caught me." And in that moment, I realized the depth of the rot. This wasn't a fracture in the marriage. This was the foundation itself, poisoned and dressed up to look like something beautiful. "How many?" I asked. She shook her head. "I don't know." I nodded once. That was all I needed to hear. "You'll be hearing from a lawyer soon," I said, and I walked out of the room, out of the house, out into the cold night air that now felt cleaner than anything she could offer. The air outside was sharp and dry, but it didn't bother me. Felt deserved. Like nature's way of reminding me that this pain had purpose. That the ache behind my ribs wasn't the end of me. It was just the weight of finally understanding everything that had been broken. Silently, piece by piece, behind my back. I didn't sleep that night. I drove. Nowhere in particular, just away. Past the neon-lit gas stations and the hollow glow of 24-hour diners. Through neighborhoods still dreaming behind drawn curtains. My phone buzzed once around 2:30 a.m. I didn't check it. I already knew who it was. By morning, I had a plan. I went to my friend Mason's place, one of the few people who still meant something real to me. He let me crash on his couch, didn't ask questions. Just nodded when I handed him the flash drive and said, "Hold on to this. If anything happens, it's everything." He didn't need context. The look in my eyes was enough. Back at the house the next day, she was waiting. She looked different now. Not tired. Not defiant. Just dismantled. Like someone who'd been forced to look in the mirror for too long. There were dishes in the sink. A cup shattered near the trash bin. I stepped over it without saying a word. "You left," she said quietly. I didn't respond. "I didn't know if you'd come back." "I didn't either." She tried to smile. Came out wrong, lopsided, desperate. "I didn't mean for it to get this far. I swear I didn't." I looked at her like a stranger who'd wandered into my house. "What did you mean then?" She opened her mouth, but I stopped her. "Don't answer that. I don't need your version anymore." Her shoulders dropped. "I've already started the process," I said. "Legal separation. Dividing assets. I'm keeping the house." "You can't just decide that," she snapped, the venom flickering back for a second before vanishing. "I can. And I have." Her mouth opened again, but she caught herself this time. Sat down at the table, hands folded. "What happens now?" I looked around. At the photos on the wall, the furniture we picked together, the place where she made memories with other men while I paid the mortgage. "Now," I said, "you leave." She laughed bitterly. "To where?" "I've got nothing left. You had a long time to think about that while I was sleeping beside you, blind." Silence. Then, almost a whisper, "They turned on me." "I know." Tyler's wife froze his accounts. Sent me screenshots. Called me names I didn't even know existed. "Good. They all blocked me." I looked her in the eyes. "You were never special to them. Just a novelty. A game. And now the game's over." She stood suddenly. "I didn't think you had this in you. All this coldness." "You didn't think I had anything in me," I said. "That's why you did what you did." She walked past me, paused at the door. "What do I do now?" she asked, almost to herself. "Survive," I said. "The same way I did." And then she was gone. No suitcase. No long speech. Just the sound of the door clicking shut. Quietly. As if even she knew this final exit didn't deserve theatrics. I stood in the middle of the house for a long time. The silence didn't feel heavy anymore. Felt earned. Like peace rediscovered in the aftermath of war. The house didn't speak to me the way it used to. Not anymore. No more passive reminders of her slippers near the stairs. No jacket hung by the door she always left half open. No perfume lingering in the hallway like a mocking ghost. The silence now was different. It was honest. It didn't pretend. It didn't cover lies with the scent of vanilla or fake apologies wrapped in soft voices. It was raw, clean, and mine. The divorce papers went through quicker than I expected. Turns out when the court sees proof, real proof, of cruelty, of humiliation, of layered betrayal spread across chats and recordings and photos, they don't argue over furniture. I got the house, the car, no alimony. She didn't even contest it. Maybe she knew she didn't deserve to. Word got out. People talk. Mutual friends dropped away from her like paint peeling from rotted wood. Nora never returned her calls. One of the men, the one with the daughter, left town. Another one tried to call me, maybe out of guilt, maybe to apologize. I didn't answer. He never tried again. She moved in with her sister across the city. I heard she got a job at some temp agency. I don't know. I don't check. The last time she reached out, it was a voicemail. For words, "I miss the quiet." I didn't reply. I deleted it and slept better that night than I had in months. But something stayed with me. That one moment. Etched into memory like it was carved in steel, when she smiled while I stood broken. When she watched from behind her lovers as I was humiliated. As they laughed and flexed around her like I was some weak prop in their performance. And she had enjoyed it. That wasn't something you forgive. That wasn't something time fixes. I remember lying on the floor, breath knocked from my chest, feeling more alone than I ever had in my life. And then hearing her laugh, somewhere behind them, like it was just a show for her, like I was the punchline. But hours later, I heard her scream. And when I stood up, when I picked myself up from that floor, something in me had shifted forever. She broke me, yes, but she also peeled away everything weak, everything patient and blind in me. I became something sharper, not cruel without cause, but unshakable in my clarity. She taught me how to see, how to never miss a shadow again. I look back now and I don't see a failed marriage. I see an awakening. If you're reading this and you feel that pit in your stomach, that creeping suspicion you keep pushing down, stop. Don't wait for proof to give you permission to act. Trust the change in the air. The weight in your chest isn't paranoia. It's the truth trying to breathe. And when it comes out, when the mask falls, don't beg for understanding. Stand up. Let them watch you become the storm they never saw coming. Because some people only understand consequences. And others, like her, they only learn when the silence finally turns against them.